funny to think about it, that after so many things happening to this band, that we still are together. Something that was supposed to just last 3 years has now lasted 12 and a half years. But I guess now that Spiros is leaving, it's a good time to look back and to think what this has all brought to us. I mean, we're never gonna probably be the world famous band that we wanted to be when we were young. But to us, this meant a lot. And it's just fun to see how something you start wildly by screaming around in a bar that you want to start a band, that you manage to eventually live so many memories together. So I guess this is what this story is going to be about. So I was just fresh out of high school, like everyone that starts university, and I had started another band before. It was with my rowing mates. We started a band called Hyperphonic, and I was around 14, 15 at the time. I kept playing with that band for, I think, 3 or 4 years. That's what got me started into music. And then when I moved to go to study, first thing I did when I went to university was to look to start a new band. So I wrote, there was this little forum on the university where before you would start the introduction week, you could already kind of like hook up with other students. So I was writing on there and I was like, guys, is there anyone out there that wants to start a band? And I didn't receive any reply for like a week, and I was a bit sad about that. Suddenly I got a reply on my email, and it was Marlene, which was saying, oh, I'm not a musician, but I actually might know someone that is a bassist. And that bassist ended up being Spiros. But he wasn't the first musician I met face to face. I just got in touch with him and I said, hey, we should meet at some point.
And the two of us started talking. And we hit it off pretty much straight away with overlapping interests in music and inspirations back then anyway.
After that, I entered my student dorm, and I discovered when I was playing my guitar, when I was just meeting my roommate, who didn't say much at the time, he came in, and his name was Ilan.
I think the first thing I noticed when I walked into the apartment, other than Alex is an Italian, is that they had 2 guitars.
And he took my guitar and he started playing, and I was like, whoa, dude, you play 2?
And we immediately started talking about playing guitar and about music.
He's like, yeah, dude, of course, I play the guitar, it's a cool thing.
What I remember a lot from the time is that we used to just sit together at nights, play guitar, have some beers. And again, Alex told me that he had a band in Italy and he was thinking about starting a new one in the Netherlands, and he asked me if I would want to join.
And I was like, well, you should totally be in my band.
And I said, yes, that'd be great. So the hunt went on for who will join the band.
And so I had my first band member at the time. I had another one on hold, which I hadn't met yet. And there was a lot of student parties in that week, the introduction week. I went to this boat, the Pancake Boat, and a lot of people, other students came together there.
And there I am on this boat with all these, fellow IBAers. And there's this prancing idiot going around asking if people play the drums because he's looking to put a band together. First thing that came to mind was, what a fucking tit, but...
And I was just a little drunk, so I was screaming because I was like, I need a drummer! I need a drummer, is there anyone that plays drums?
That was my first impression of Alex. It wasn't a very good one, but it was, I was like, I'll have fun with it, I'll roll with it. And I was like, I play drums.
One of the guys just put his hand up and he's like, I play drums. And that was Abdullah.
Mm-hmm. He's like, oh, that's awesome, and this and that. And anyway.
And during my first class. I think it was one of our first classes in IBA.
I was sitting in this lecture. I was studying IBA in Rotterdam. And I remember the first part of the lecture, I was sitting in the back of the room and there were a lot of people talking. And so for the second part of the lecture, I decided to sit in the front, and I was sitting, well, pretty much next to this guy who was tapping his hands on the desk.
I was like tippity tapping because I was nervous and annoyed.
And I was like, fuck, man.
Shh, like, dude, I'm trying to concentrate. And of course, that was Remco.
Probably a musician or something. And so I asked him, are you a musician?
And I was like, yeah, like, how about you? And then Remco said, well, I kind of play the keyboard.
And being a keyboard player, I know it's not a very sexy instrument. So I just asked him, like, if you need a keyboard player, I can play.
I was like, dude, you should also be in the band.
And I was like, sure, let's do it.
So that's how, at some point, I had gotten in touch within the span of like 2 weeks with all the members of the band.
He came through big time. He found everyone, I think, within the next 2 weeks.
I organized a get-together at the Pool Café Blaak to bring all the musicians in touch with each other. And that's also when Spiros and I also met for the very first time.
I remember a specific fact also was that I was a bit early for that meeting, which is incredibly rare.
Yeah, that's when I met Remco and Spiros and Ilan for the first time.
You could already tell in that first meeting that everybody could get along. Some heated debates about all kinds of different bands.
Me and Spiros had a very, very, very strong rapport right from the beginning. It was like, do we know each other?
Abdullah sometimes can be like the charming asshole. He can get away with very dickish comments and we'll all have a very good laugh about it. And I gave him a lot of ammo.
Within, I think it didn't take more than 5 minutes, that we just started throwing random insults at each other.
These guys were they were fucking crazy. They were making jokes.
And banter, and just in no time we saw we connected straight away.
I remember I was really searching for my place in this group of people. And it took me a while to find that.
So it was just shooting pool, drinking beers, talking about music, and trying to get along with each other and find out what we're all about.
But it was good times. But it was still sort of the question mark of, musically, is this going to work?
We started jamming right away at Waterfront.
And we were kind of all nervous because we were like, well, what if we suck? And what if one of us sucks more than the rest?
And so we started rehearsing together.
I think for me, the second Alex opened his mouth and started singing, it was just like, oh, this is a good band.
I do remember that we were all incredibly loud, of course, as we always have been pretty much in jams.
I think we all had one very clear objective, which was to start recording our own songs as quickly as possible. None of us had the intention of becoming a cover band.
So yeah, I mean, the first rehearsal was great, as were all the other ones. We started writing songs.
Which was a lot of fun. We would just, someone would just start playing something and everybody else would just join. I think one of the first thing we played is I recorded in another video.
Alex really came up with a lot of great ideas at the start for creating some cool songs.
And I think it must have not been more than a month later that we already had our first song, Fly Away.
Whoa, let it fly away. Let me fly away.
Alex came up up with a bunch of songs. And I think Alex was going through a rough patch in his life.
Fly Away at some point came out after I pretty much failed my first exam, one of my first exams already.
He went home, apparently wrote the foundation of Fly Away, if not the whole song pretty much.
And as soon as it came up with them, and we instantly knew that Fly Away is something that we have to play. And once we played it, we knew that we have to record it.
Not soon after, I remember Alex saying, yeah, we're gonna record our songs and we're gonna do a gig.
I'm trying to remember what we did first. If we played our first gig, or if we recorded the demo first. They were very close to each other, that's for sure.
I really thought things were moving too quick.
Not much time after we had all seen each other for the first time, we were in the studio recording a song, which for me was the first time I actually was in a studio recording something.
This is Alex. What are recording?
I look nice, huh? You like this?
Trying to do something.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for a pen because if there's some lyrics I want to change or anything.
Yeah, last moment, change of lyrics.
Yeah, always come.
Always good.
Hey.
We recorded 3 songs.
Well, it was Fly Away, it was Freak, and it was IBA.
In the recording session, it was, drums. It was me and Spiros on bass. We cut those 3 songs live together, and that was bounced into Pro Tools, and everybody else came in and did their parts.
I think as a bassist, it's musically, you're the foundation with a drummer to have a good click.
And I think we also in this Freak solo, we did not really intend for it to sound that way. I recorded a couple of versions, and then when we played them all together, they just sounded well.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun back then. When you're starting out and you create a song like that, you really think you've struck gold at the start of it.
But the recording there was quite a lot of fun. If I remember correctly, Spiros bought this little Nintendo thing that we all played with.
Come on, finish it. You're so close. Just. Wait. Yes. Go. No, wait, no. You lost. Oh. Oh my God. No.
And there was just really good vibe. There's just really good vibe in the studio.
Come let me fly away. Let me fly away.
Me and Spiros would we'd do a bunch of takes, and we try to get the feel right and try to get the chemistry right, get the song to pull and sway the way we wanted.
He knew how to tie things together. He knew when to say, okay, you don't need to do more.
I still listen to Fly Away sometimes, and I'm still pretty happy with the songs we made.
I remember biking back from the studio home with the first demo of ourselves on my headphones, and it was night, and I was biking really fast just because it was such an exciting thing. I felt like for the first time I had found it's like you make this huge new discovery, and the band was it. So at the first gig, we actually played Fly Away, and it was a band contest.
We desperately wanted a gig somewhere, and we found our first opportunity at the end of the year.
There was this competition in Plan C for performances, and we thought it would be a great time to come together and play for the first time.
And a lot of people came to see us.
So I remember the feeling of walking on the stage of Plan C where we had our first gig. I was so nervous. I was like, we are so not ready for this.
I was looking around at everyone thinking, oh my God, this is the first time we're going to let anyone hear our material live.
And we had so much support from everybody that felt amazing.
First of all, people, I would like to say that between close to the garderobe, the dressing room or whatever, garderobe, you can vote for us after a performance. Oh yeah!
And we won the audience prize, not surprisingly.
I was a bit nervous in the gig, but there was also a very special energy that I felt when we played together for the first time.
That gig was, I think, what really put so much energy in us, because people were very much engaged and they really loved the way we played.
And I knew that this is something that I want to do for again and again.
So even though it started out as a joke, this started becoming something more serious, and we were really getting to the point where we thought, man, this might actually work. This might be an actual band.
I think that's when everybody in the band got an email from Abdullah.
I believe the title was something like "Read this while seated" or something.
And so we all did. We sat down, we read the email, and it said that he was going to leave the band for personal reasons.
Which, of course, we cared mainly that he's a friend, so we cared mainly that he's okay.
And it wasn't good, but it was something he had to do.
You know, I wasn't able to continue studying and live in outside of Bahrain. Basically, financially, it was not a possibility. So I had to go back home, and yeah, I remember feeling like a real asshole, because you know I was the guy who was gonna let everybody down, and yeah, I'm not used to being that guy.
And that was a total bummer.
We were just getting started, and when you're just getting started and you have a good vibe and someone has to leave, that's pretty rough.
He has to do what he has to do, of course, which also meant that we were without a drummer.
That was, I think, for a very short time, we all thought, okay, well, this has been fun. This has been a year. Maybe that's the end of Pangea.
And as hard as it was, we're just happy that he was able to get everything together, and that things turned out well for him.
And you know, I pop around and visit every once in a while, hang out with the guys, catch them at a show, and it's always great fun.
I remember right after Abdullah left, like, okay, we gotta keep this rolling. We have to find another drummer.
And luckily, Remco had this friend of his that he knew from high school.
We were like, okay, tell us a little bit about him.
And Remco told us that his friend is the fastest drummer in the Netherlands, so we were very excited to meet him.
I went to this high school where we did school musicals,
which we thought was very funny at the time.
And I did those 2 musicals with a drummer called Peter.
We're gonna do this in English. All right. So I got a call from Remco. I knew Remco before, from school. We did a lot of musicals together, 2 actually, not a lot.
But I called him up and I said, look, I have this band. And he goes, I know. So I thought, okay, that's a good start.
And I heard his music already, and I was really impressed by the singer, by the voice of Alex.
So I asked him, like, do you want to play with us sometime, jam with us, and see if there's a connection? And he was, in his own way, enthusiastic.
I was quite excited because there are no bands that I knew before that are like amateurs they all had shitty singers, and this was a really great one.
If you know Peter a little bit, he's not very easily impressed with anything. So reluctantly, after a lot of convincing from Remco's side, he decided to show up for our first jam.
Normally I don't show my emotions too much, so I was pretty mellow.
So I remember Peter just sitting there being like, all right, I guess I have to try this.
But I remember that I really liked it already.
So when Peter joined in, he had pretty big shoes to fill, and Peter's done a tremendous job from the first moment.
I can only remember thinking, oh man, this guy should be a drummer, he's so good.
And the first jam ended up going actually pretty well.
I remember there were a few very intense moments during jamming where I pretty quickly on realized that Peter was capable of much more than he had let on during the jam. And I remember telling Alex, yeah, I think this guy's got it. I think he's pretty special. I want him in the band.
After it, I was quite excited.
And I said, okay, you can just let me know, think about it, let me know if this is something you want to be a part of.
Yeah, I actually immediately said, well, I think I liked it. So that's when he knew I was going to join the band.
The first gig that we had when Peter joined us was the Era of Erasmus.
For me, the moment that it started getting real is Era of Erasmus.
I remember it was in Exit, I think.
And I remember we advertised that quite a bit across our studies.
It was so much fun. We had the whole room filled with friends and people liked us and there was so much energy on stage.
We were shocked by a couple of things. One, by the amount of people that actually came in to see us and support us, and that was just amazing. And two is how good the other bands were.
I remember this one band which we were all very impressed by, Momite, which played incredible funk music.
And I thought that there was no way we're winning this, but it would be fun to play. So I remember from the beginning, it just felt special. And I feel like also in that show, it's the first show where we played more than one song, and we started to really also have stage chemistry between the band members.
I think all of us, we connected musically, but I think everybody in the crowd there could also tell that this was a group of guys that could also have fun.
Did we win this?
And when it came to the end of the show, the jury made a decision of who was going to win.
And at the end of the night, we actually won that contest.
So we won the Order of Erasmus.
And we were so shocked. We were so happy.
And we couldn't really believe it. But again, that was like another moment of kind of getting some recognition for all the work that we had put in.
And it really gave us a lot of energy to continue. And we did more gigs. Emergenza, Big Scam, I think Alex can explain it the best.
If there's one thing you're not supposed to do as an artist, it's never pay to play. And this contest was kind of like a pyramid scheme where you had to sell your tickets so your friends would come.
But from our perspective, it was a great experience performing again together, and I think we improved our sound as well.
We even had like these three amazing guys that made t-shirts with Pangea, and I just remember this probably as being one of the best gigs we've played.
Of course, after 2 gigs, we wanted more.
So we were asked for this contest at the Gouden Hengst at some point.
I remember we made it through the first round, and then we didn't have enough songs for the second round.
They required us to play 40 minutes of material.
And we didn't have that.
So we had to come up with 7 songs in a span of approximately 3 or 4 weeks.
We were very eager to get on stage again and to write more songs and to just be more creative and spend more time with each other, because it was such an amazing time.
We jammed a lot, we made new songs.
And I would just write songs and bounce them off of Remco, and then
I told him if it was good or not.
Many of our songs actually also happened during the jam.
The rehearsals really started becoming more productive, I would say.
I remember there was one jam, I think that was the most productive jam that we've ever had. 3 songs were written almost from start to end.
We wrote songs like AC/DC.
Which was literally the chords of the title, A, C, D, C.
She's dead, she's missing, I wish I thought about it, perfect sense.
This was very typical for Pangea at the time, that we didn't really have very high standards of quality. We just said, okay, let's just keep creating and creating and creating and creating and creating.
Some of them made the cut, some of them didn't.
We had a lot of material, and this is when we all had something like, yeah, can we record this?
So we thought pretty quickly on that we wanted to create an actual album.
These 10 songs that we came up with for this gig at the Gouden Hengst in Schiedam ended up becoming our first real album.
And that's how we got to the Global Warning CD.
And this time we went outside of the city to a location that was in a more suburban area.
What was the name? Art of Sound? Art of Sound? Yeah, it was Art of Sound.
We recorded our very, very first album there, and this was 2008.
We booked a week there.
I just can't forget that week. That was so much fun.
There wasn't really instruction for us. It was the first time we really did something this big.
Going into the studio like that for 5 days in a row, where we literally slept next to the recording room, was a unique experience.
Of course, me and Spyro laid the bass for all the songs.
You smash your way throughout the years, memories of fun and things you've done, but still the thought, it haunts your sleep. The simple question that's the steps and gets the rest.
If you listen to it back now, then well, it's still okay, but we were young, so...
You suck!
The person that had to play was away in the recording booth. And the rest of the guys were just eating sandwiches or playing Xbox. I played a lot of Xbox that week.
Spiro, do you think you're gonna win?
I don't know.
Remco, do you think you're gonna win?
Yes. We're going down, Remco.
7 seconds ahead. First place, damn right.
I can see already, yeah, it's 7 seconds.
Yeah, alright.
And I remember actually our engineer at some point, he just thought that we were such a strange group of people.
Our sound engineer, Justice Berger, was also, he became a meme with us for some time after that.
We came up with a song that was kind of the theme song of the recording.
Every day I wake up and I look at the sunshine. Every day I wake up and I look at the sunshine.
But the fucking sun is not shining in Holland. That was kind of the theme of the recording.
I mean, this is, I guess, where we also started seeing each other as friends. We had a lot of stupid internal humor.
I mean, I'm sure we've got plenty of recordings that show you exactly how much fun we've had.
Dude, what is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. No, no. What is love?
Fond memories, very, very nice.
So that whole process of recording made us feel like an actual band. You know, we were kind of through this whole like student gig part.
To finally have an album, call it Global Warning, because we were of course pretentious as fuck, I thought was a milestone that really was one of the most important forming moments in our band.
And that CD gave us so much material for us to go out into the world and say, this is us and this is the music we make.
So the one side, which was a lot of fun, is the recording. Another side, which is a lot of fun, is the gigs, of course. And I think a third side, which will stay with me for a very long time, is actually the jamming.
We always had very nice jams in Schiedam at Soundcheck.
And this was a place where you could just rent a small space, pay $30 and play like for 2 or 3 hours.
So for me, the jamming was one of the most exciting things to do always. Someone starts with something and someone else hooks in, I give it a beat, and before you know it, in like 15 minutes we have a song. Of course, if you jam so much, it not always goes well, because there's also a lot of discussions.
So we always knew that the moment Peter started talking, we should listen.
Can't we just play the whole song first? Because we don't know how the song goes, and we're just talking about how it's supposed to go. And if we play it, then we know how to fit in Awakening. Okay. Maybe it doesn't fit at all, and I don't think it will fit. So I'm just saying now, before we talk for 15 minutes more. Okay?
That's a good point, sir.
So just play.
I love you, Peter.
He could completely kill a song by just saying one sentence. We also knew if Peter said he liked something, that it was really good.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't mostly what was happening in the jam, it was happening around the jam. All these little rituals would start.
Spiros always picked us up at Schiedam in the beginning, and we drove towards the place.
Because none of us had a car except for Spiros at the time.
Time for a jam.
It would mostly be the art of calling shotgun.
Shotgun. Oh! Beautifully called! On camera!
Not even a shotgun master.
Oh, sweet. Peter's already here. Oh, no, wait, that's not Peter's car.
She might be dead!
When we finished playing, we sang songs of about who had to pay for the jam.
Because we had to remember who paid the last time.
Heroes time to pay. It's heroes time to pay. It's heroes time. It's heroes time. It's heroes time to pay.
And he pays cash.
It's not cash.
I enjoyed rehearsals, but I particularly enjoyed the gigs. So we played a lot of gigs, especially in the last 2 years. I think in the last year we played a gig almost every weekend, which was really, really nice.
We did like 1-2 gigs per week, which for a student band is quite a lot.
And I think the one that I enjoyed the best was the one in Delft, where we played in the fraternity house. There was I think a Belgian beer festival. It was just amazing. The room was so packed, we could barely make it to the stage. And when we started playing, we played our own songs and we played covers. The crowd was just jumping up and down, and the energy levels were so high. And to me, that was the best gig.
There was so much energy everywhere. There were covers as well, but we didn't really mind. I mean, it was a party, and we did it for some money in the band jar, so we can have some more studio time, you know. We were cool with all that.
We did a lot of competition still.
In Schiedam, which we won eventually.
I think the highlight over all the years was BK Beats.
BK Beats was a big festival, thousands of students going there. But before there was a contest to be able to, play there.
There were preliminaries that we had to get through.
I think I arrived late, and walking into the venue, which was packed, there were like 300 people in there, and there was this band playing, and they were so good.
And they just played this incredible kind of Rage Against the Machine kind of music.
We thought that they were crowd favorite, that the jury was all on their side.
We were like, yeah, they're gonna win it. For sure, for sure. The whole crowd liked it.
We're not gonna win this, so we did our show, and
we were already packing our stuff after the gig.
We put on our coats and walked outside.
At a certain point, we heard, yeah, and the winner is Pangea. We were all like, what? And Alex was already on the outside with his mom, I think.
And then my brother, who was actually at most of our gigs, he ran out and he's like, guys, you won!
And we were awestruck. I looked at Remco and we couldn't believe what he said. So we ran inside, and it turns out that we did win and that we had earned our place at the BK Beats Festival.
And we're like, what? That's just not possible. So again, this was another time that we thought, how could we, like a bunch of weird, stupid students, kind of amateuring around with music, have like won such a contest?
And this is how we went to BK Beats. Yes, but it was one of the most professional gigs, I think, with lighting and sound, and it was a lot of fun.
And we had the nice backstage room with all the nice stuff.
We got free stuff! It's awesome!
I mean, stuff you can buy for €2 at your local supermarket, but for us it was such a big deal.
Guys, we made it to the big leagues. Look at us.
There was a bit of an undertone at that gig for us.
We were all kind of feeling something that was a long time coming.
The thing I remember about those years is that we all knew that at some point it would end, because...
Well, Remco and me were just the Dutch guys, and there were some international band members.
This band is bound to break up after 3 years because all of us were going to go in different directions and probably all over the world to study.
So this was also the case with Ilan, of course.
We were reminded once again of how temporary these things can be.
So the band really has been the best thing that happened to me in the Netherlands. It was one of the most fun things I've ever done in my life. So that's why it was really hard for me when I was living in the Netherlands. It was very hard for me to come to the realization that I would have to leave the band.
That was really the end of an era for Pangea.
Yeah, it was really a shame that Ilan left. He just made a really great song also that I still love to this day, but we never played again.
You know, without Ilan, what the hell are we gonna do? He is such an important character as a lead guitarist for us. He helped shape Pangea like that.
One day I just had to tell it to my friends. Luckily, everybody was very well receptive to this, and instead of starting to look for a new person right there and then, I stayed with the band and we kept rehearsing and performing together until I left, and I really appreciate it I really appreciate it. So thank you, everyone. It brings so many great memories. Just truly the best thing. I think one of the best things I've ever done. It's being part of Pangea.
We had the feeling, well, I had the feeling that we needed a guitar player again.
So we put this ad on the internet.
There's a saying in Dutch that I don't know would work in English, but if you need a new band member, specifically a guitarist, you basically open a can of guitarist. We opened a few cans, and none of them were as great as Barry.
Hi, ik ben Barry. My name is Barry. Kamer kijken. Once my teacher said to me, you're doing good, but I think what really would help you progress in your playing is when you find like a band that challenge you.
And Barry wrote to us like he really liked our music and he was tired of his old band, which was not taking it seriously enough.
So then I sent them an email and they invited me to come over and jam.
We invited Barry to play with us in Schiedam.
When I arrived, Remco went outside to pick me up and really helped me to feel comfortable, I guess.
I imagine for Barry it must have been pretty strange to walk into this room where 4 guys are standing that are playing together for a couple of years, and then suddenly you are the guy who's going to play the guitar for this band.
We were surprised how well he could play for such a young guy and how much energy he also had.
I think to this day I would still say that maybe Barry is the best musician of all of us. And we were kind of all impressed when he first came in for the first jam because he's an incredible guitarist.
We thought it was a great challenge because we knew we wanted him on board because he filled so many gaps that we've had for so many years. And I think already in the first jam that showed.
We kind of took off. We started working on songs already. I think in the first jam we already we're working on new ideas, and
we immediately embraced him after this first jam.
And we all kind of felt like, okay, so this is an actual musician. He studied music, he really loves music.
Okay, we need this guy in the band right now. So we jammed for a while, and at some point we made it official.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to introduce you to the new guitarist
of Pangea.
it was a really strange moment because I was, guys, let's work on this song, and then they wanted to do like that formal thing from you're in the band now, and I was like, okay, great, but let's continue, let's finish this song, you know. Yeah, and then I was in the band.
Well, welkom Barry.
And this kind of brought the whole band from being like this clumsy, kind of fun, quirky band that was just trying and producing a lot of materials to actually taking it to the next level.
We became a little bit more serious musicians.
Not only were we able to consider our music much more seriously and much more theoretically, but he also brought his own creativity to the table.
I know Remco was always pushing me like, you should write something and let the band play with it, and you know, let's make a new song. And
at some point he came up with this thing, and we started jamming to it, and that's eventually led to the song I'll Find a Way.
And that was, to this day, is still personally one of my favorite songs.
it was kind of difficult to join like such a machine. Yeah, that was like a starting point for the new EP, I guess.
I think this is when the highlight period of Pangea started.
I think within a year we had 3 songs all worked out.
I had some contribution of my own there as well with the 3rd song, Not Without a Fight. Fun fact, it was actually the first bass riff I had ever written when I had just started to play music at the age of 17.
We also decided to record this in the studio.
We found a studio in Zeewolde, and that was quite awesome.
This is Studio Media Salon. It's a very nice studio. It's been in production since 1964. Bruce Springsteen has recorded, not here, but something like this. See the recording room?
There is recording going on in there.
Spiros? I'm just here for the food, really. The recording room, where the magic happens.
Sorry?
And this was actually where we started Sway, our very first album, which we made together with Barry. And Barry was really serious about it. It had to be technical, it had to sound good.
Ja, ik zit even te denken of ik die accentjes mee moet pakken of juist alleen maar, zeg maar... Of... Ik zou er wel mee pakken, denk ik, hoor.
It really was a new chapter for the other guys. And for me it was like the first chapter, but...
We were really looking after details. It had to have a song. The song structure needed to make a lot of sense.
I think that gave them way more depth and made them more interesting. You have all these different layers on top of each other in every song.
it felt magic again.
We decided to get a little house there as the last time, and yeah, that was really a nice weekend.
We were sleeping in the living room of the accommodation with like three guys, all next to each other on the floor. It's quite fun.
Eeuw. Slaap lekker. Het ziet er echt heel stom uit dit. Moet je kijken hoeveel haar. Hey. Wow.
But still, musically, this was a really well thought of album.
I think it took us more than a week to record them all. So if you compare that to the Global Warning, where we recorded 7 songs in 7 days, if you will, and we recorded 3 songs in like 9 days for the Sway EP, that gives you an idea of how different we were about our music.
This is where we felt, or I felt for the first time, that there's a unity that is for the long term.
Yeah, when the songs were finished, we organized the EP release party in Wateringen.
Sometimes I realize that all of these pieces are not made to fit.
That was quite cool. It was freezing cold outside, but eventually the venue was filled with people, with friends, family, people I didn't even know. And
yeah, that was a special night. I mean, we played for maybe an hour or more. We sold a lot of CDs. Our family was there, girlfriends were there.
yeah, it was really cool. We sold a lot of CDs back then, and we went to the radio with it. And
we did some radio gigs.
For example, at the WOS, the Westland Radio, of course.
Als je goed luistert, hoor je op de achtergrond I'll Find a Way.
And then we had Radio Rijnmond, which is a local Rotterdam radio, but quite big, so that was nice. And also in the middle of the night at Radio 1 in Hilversum. So yeah, we had quite a lot of successes with this.
yeah, and it opened quite a few doors, I guess.
That's when we really wanted to hit it big time. We had, I think, the busiest period for gigs we've had so far.
The part where Barry was from, Westland, we started getting a lot of gigs there because Barry is very, very active, getting gigs, organizing stuff, and that's where we actually started building up maybe something you could call a fan base.
Hoe was het? Zweterig. Maar zoals altijd geweldig.
I remember that at some point we did this video for Not Without a Fight, which was one of the songs from the album, where we actually had a professional videographer. And we recorded all of that in Westland. We had so much at our disposal, from forklifts.
Shout, obey me! Thou shalt always listen to me!
To this massive garden. But the video clip that came out of it was still, I think, a lot of fun, and was a lot of fun to do and to look at.
We felt like we were on another level with our band.
We were working on new songs, and everything went pretty smooth. We were joining competitions.
So this was a period where we were trying to combine work and music, and we did it as professionally as we could.
Because we played so much in the Westland, eventually we were able to join the Peter Tetro Bokaal competition.
And it was peak hour, there were thousands of people. It was Probably the biggest gig we've ever had.
And well, what do you know, we underestimated ourselves again, and after some rounds we won the competition.
We won the Peter Bocal, which was huge. The thing was almost as big as I was.
And that was like really a turning point also, I guess.
With every big high, there is often a certain balance in life, so a certain low comes up as well.
This was really a phase where, like I said, it was really difficult to combine work and music.
All the other guys were like starting with new jobs and finishing their studies.
The songs started getting worn out. They were the same songs for a number of years without much new material arising.
We all had jobs and we all were working, so there was less energy left for the band.
We were really struggling with new songs, and everything kind of felt the same or sounded like something we already did.
We were kind of stuck in the whole Sway era. We didn't produce a lot of new songs.
And this excitement of making new songs in a jam, that was disappeared a little bit.
I made a lot of time for Pangea, and for the other guys it was kind of different, because Pangea was more like a side project or a hobby, and for me it also was that, but I really want to achieve things. I was looking forward to play like shows as a support act for a big band, or doing something like the popronde. But with this effort we couldn't achieve those goals, and that was the reason why I think I wasn't helping the band, and the band wasn't helping me at that point.
So I believe at that point we kind of lost body in the whole process of being a band, and in hindsight you can see it happening, but at that point we had no clue.
And I remember it was a jam. I remember this very well. We were in Schiedam again at the sound check.
But I wasn't feeling, I just wasn't feeling it. I was not looking forward to jam again, and yeah.
And we were waiting for Barry. He was a little bit late. And I remember I was setting up my stuff.
Remco had just gotten a very long WhatsApp from Barry.
I mean, you could already tell from his face, from his body reaction, that it wasn't good.
It basically said that he was not happy in the band, and he decided to quit.
I think I had to leave the band so the band could regain energy and could work on new songs with like the four of them. And
I think he was a little bit afraid to tell us in person.
We all felt like we were hit in the gut. We were lost for a moment.
It felt like we were dumped. You know, if you have your girlfriend that you've known for a long time, and then suddenly she breaks up with you in a message on your phone.
And as we were all kind of sad about it, we also kind of understood, because we knew, Barry studies music, none of us do, and we don't want to hold him back.
I fully understand why he chose to leave, because I am fully aware that he, as a very serious musician, has got his own music ambitions. So while it was unfortunate and personally for me just very sad, because I grew to really like the guy, I was going to miss him.
And of course, leaving a band which has been a part of your life for a few years was really hard. I really enjoyed being on stage with those guys, and all those guys are really awesome. I really like all of those, all the different personalities, and and how they are as a group.
After that punch in the gut, we only had each other.
We were all in the sound check.
So we were sitting there in this jam room.
And there was this super strange moment where we just said, okay, screw it. You know, we have this room booked anyway, so let's just start something. But we were all had a lot of mixed feelings, and then we did something which we hadn't done in a very long time.
Spontaneously, we started making new songs.
And I just started playing this riff, kind of like this angry, rocky riff, and somehow it exploded into a song.
We had all this energy, this energy from this message, and this jam, we made 3 new songs.
And that pretty much became the first song of our new album, which was called Don't Stop. Which is funny because it had already been like 8 or 9 years, I think, at the time that we'd been together as a band, and every time we thought, okay, this is going to be the last song, this is going to be the last time that we make music together. And just through that eruption of sound, we just said, you know what, screw it.
That set the tone for a 4-man formation, Pangea.
We decided to continue with the 4 of us, Peter, Spiros, Alex, and myself.
We're just going to keep playing as a hobby band that we are, but this is what we love doing.
We wanted to continue. We didn't want to stop.
At that point in time, we also jammed at Alex's office. I remember sitting there and we wrote something we now call Long Time Waiting, and we had to, because we still had that gig at Westerpop.
we had to make a lot of new songs again because we had won this contest for Westernpop. We were going to play at this huge stage, which I think might have been the biggest stage we had played till then. And we played a lot of these really nice, rocky, simple songs again, which we hadn't played for a very long time. But I think the difference this time is that maybe when the Global Warning, if you compare it to Global Warning, these were very kind of jovial, very fun songs, but they were very too simple. And we now had grown up as a band and we're playing still very simple songs, but with a much more grown-up sound.
Buddy joined the crowd because he was still our friend, of course. We had no hard feelings.
To see Barry and even his parents as well stand there in the crowd on a dreary Saturday noon, opening a big festival where there's practically no one else in the crowd. Yeah, you know, I felt touched.
He was totally happy and blown away actually by the fact that we had still put up a set like that.
I remember after the gig, I also walked up to him, you know, as a, not just as a gesture, you know, for like, to show him that I still want us to be cool, but also personally that I still want us to be cool. Because like I said, I know for the rest that this holds for the rest as well, but I really got along with the guy. And I wanted him back. But of course I didn't tell him that. I'm way too big for that.
And after that we also started talking again, and maybe in the future I could join a gig with them without a further plans or just for fun, you know.
But it took some time, and at that point we just we were just being a band with the four of us.
After Westernpop, we thought we felt like we had a good set of songs, and we decided to record that.
So in the meanwhile, we did some recordings of the new songs that we made without Barry in Rocktown Studios,
which is, I think, still to date maybe one of the most beautiful studios that we recorded in. It's a very old studio in Rotterdam.
Everything in that studio is built for recording music and recording rock music.
And this was more uncomplicated, not so complicated recordings.
So there was a very relaxed vibe around this album.
We did it way different than we used to. Normally we played like the drums, then the bass, then the guitar. But now we just played it with the whole band.
Just sitting in a semicircle, looking at each other, and it felt, the music was almost as if it came out of a jam.
The recordings were led by Oki, who himself was a bassist, which I was personally a big fan of because finally I had a sound engineer who knew what I wanted the bass to sound like.
So we had this really kind of groovy sound engineer that forced us to not force anything too much. And I think that was, it was almost like therapy. He was like, guys, just play it. And if there's a mistake, who cares?
And that way these recordings feel more natural. But you also miss the layers a little bit. Also because Barry was not there, because he is really like the technical guy that can put all these little details in there. But it's really another chapter of Pangea in this sense, that these recordings are more pure, I think.
And that's what made it so much different than all our previous albums. We were just there to make music as friends.
And if you listen to those 4 songs and compare them to any other material we've had beforehand, I think it was just leaps forward. There was such a display of development for us. It was another milestone, for sure.
is iets te heftig. So after we finished that album, we started a new tradition, which was a yearly. It started out as a trip that we took all together, which was supposed to be a musical trip, where we would come up with new songs. And we went, the four of us, to this little place called Derbuy in Belgium.
Yeah, so we started going to Belgium and just hanging out and drinking a lot of beers in this weekend in January.
We make some music there, not so much. We mainly drink beers, we eat food, play some games, watch some stupid movies.
And that's something we still do. And I believe it was during one of those weekends we kind of talked about the possibility of getting Barry back to Pangea.
And I think it was kind of like a long flirtatious period.
I remember we started talking a lot more, and that he suddenly started joining in jams, just very carefully, just to get a feel for it again, to see if the connection's still there, to see if there's potential for rejoining. I don't want to call it rejoining, because no one really feels like he actually left the band.
And it was kind of a natural development.
We asked Barry again for a gig in, of course, Nederland 3, close to his hometown. And, well, basically from that point, Barry was with us again.
And now I think I'm like in the same boat as those guys. I don't want to get famous anymore, or, you know, achieve things, or I just want to have fun and make beautiful stuff. And
it was a very different way of being in the band than he used to.
The first half for me was more like really achieving things, and after that, when I got back in the band, it was more about friendship and of course also making music and doing your thing, you know, but also more about having a good time together.
You could tell that he had got things straight for himself, and you could really tell that the four of us did the same thing, but in a way that left a lot of room still for Barry to find his place again with us.
It kind of made us all relax and just enjoy making music.
It started a completely new chapter where all of us were on the same page.
And from this moment we started taking things less seriously again.
I remember us in Derbuy, and we were having this huge plan of making nice new songs, but
we just ended up making like the dumbest songs.
Deep fried ball of doughy veggie goodness makes you see what awesome manly food is. Yeah. Fa la 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 fo fa la 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 fo fa la 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 fo fa la 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 fo fa la 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 fo fa la 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 fo fa la 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 fo falafel.
Falafel by Midnight by Pangea.
I think this was maybe a transition for where we focused less on music and actually more on each other as people and friends, and we had discussions which were not only about the latest song of Radiohead or how great Ace of Spades is as a song, but actually more about, you know, how are you doing, what's going on with your life, and talk about that with each other.
I think that we were, in the beginning of Pangea, we were friends because we were making music together, but the focus was on the music, and later on that kind of shifted to we were making music together because we were friends.
It always been there, but now it's more present. Yeah.
I think that's a nice definition of how this band has changed and evolved over time.
For me personally, one of the biggest things that showed that was Peter's wedding.
I was the first one to get married, and of course I wanted all these guys to be there the whole day as my close friends, and also at the bachelor party, of course.
I recently got married as well, and it was just great to see not just the guys anymore, but also all their girlfriends and wives all together, getting along. And yeah, I guess that's one of the best things that can happen to you.
This was in Italy, and at a certain point we were like on this island in front of the coast of Naples, and we were looking at each other, how special this is that we are here together, what brought us here, you know? This idea of a band in the beginning, and now we are here together on an island seeing our friend get married. It was really special.
What does Pangea mean? I'll get back to that in a bit.
It was supposed to be a project that was supposed to last 3 years with people that were all working on this because we had a specific aim or goal. It transformed from something more straightforward to an experience that I shared with people that I would now refer to as some of my best friends. And I think what makes it very unique is that these are friends that you haven't just shared normal moments with, but these are people that you shared very strong emotions with by sharing a stage with each other, recording your first album together, recording your first songs, experiencing crowds as large as 2,500 people, which was one of the gigs in Westerpop. This really brings you together in a very special way.
So I couldn't imagine that when I first went to Schiedam with my guitar, and 18 years I just had my driving license, and then going to the city, and yeah. And now we're here.
So I say life happens, and life also happened to me. Just like life also happened to me. Just like Abdullah and Ilan left the band before I did, I now as well will leave the band. Two years ago, I met my current girlfriend, Amber, who is a very special lady. In fact, she's so special, I'm going to leave this band and this country and everything I have here so I can live with her in Australia, where she's from.
I think we're all very convinced and that is the right decision for him, and it's so well deserved. I mean, so I think it's a good thing, and I also believe that he will always be a part of Pangea, and him leaving gives us a huge task in finding out where this is going to leave the band.
Don't stop. You guys, you've got to continue with the music. You've got something so special going on here. And I'm so happy that I could have been part of it. And I feel like it would have been almost a waste of my time if you guys choose to quit now. Because I grew with you and I influenced you as well to the musicians that you guys are right now.
I'm pretty sure we'll find a way to just keep enjoying music with all of us, being good friends, and just keep Pangea rolling.
I don't know what the future will bring, but I guess we'll always continue in some kind of way. I think we're not gonna give this up, because yeah, I think making music together is the best thing.
We also thought now that Spiros is leaving, this is going to be the end. But just like we thought with Barry, maybe we would not see him again as a musician, I would say let's see what the future holds.
Besides all the changes, Pangea has always been there. And even when Spyro is leaving, I think this will stay the same.
What does Pangea mean? And I've had a moment to consider a few things, but none of the words, none of the sentiments, or even essays that I could likely write about the experience, none of that would do that question any justice. None of that is valid enough. Pangea, in my book, should not be defined.
Sometimes I realize that all of these pieces just don't seem to fit. And I know I want them to, but it seems so hard and it's making me sick. I try to put the pieces together forever, so whenever you're better, you know it will matter. 'Cause I know I want you, so don't hold back from what we've got. But I'll find a way to regain all that I've lost, and I'll find a way to go back to how it was.
Australia, man. I thought I lived far away. Yeah, oh, good luck to you, man. And all the best. And I will fucking hunt you down, man. I'm gonna find you over there in fucking, like Perth, not even Sydney. Really? Perth? Fuck. Stop on the way in Bahrain. You know, that's an idea. See you, man.
Say hi to the newest Pangea fan and potentially guitar player. Woohoo!
Alex and Peter are now married, and we went to their weddings, and they're not married together, but like with their wives. But
Het is wel grappig dat Spiros natuurlijk de koning is van continuity errors. Eens kijken of hij ze allemaal kan spotten. Belichting. Blaadjes van de bomen. Hey, wat is er ineens bewolkt buiten?
And Spiros, man. Spiros is such a natural. He's just a genuinely nice guy with a very big head. Sorry. It's Spiros time to pay. It's Spiros time to pay. It's Spiros time. It's Spiros time. It's Spiros time to pay. He pays with cash. And we had a lot of dirtier variations of that.
Ik wil het een keertje normaal kunnen. Kut, sorry. Fucking gevoelens elke keer. Ja. Mostly because I think that I've been part of a special. Fuck. God damn it. It's a wrap. Dus. Okay.